Okay, we managed to lose the splash side, but don't worry about it. Okay, so we were Project Kilo, given the brief programming for artists. So there are a few ways you go about doing something like that. None of us were particularly well acquainted with, the grief that artists would experience when trying to program. So we first did quite a lot of research into programs which blur the line between art and computer science. And one of the things that came up was why you'd want to use programming in the first place if you were wanting to build something artistic. And so things like the ceiling in the British Museum courtyard and the Gherkin in London, there's obvious computer interaction there, but no one can argue with the artistic merits of the thing. So there's clearly a slot for computer science in here. Well, you could argue, but as you wish. So yeah, the uses seem to mainly boil down to sort of iteration on a large scale and involving complex mathematical functions and visual environments. So we had a look at a few programs like processing and Blender, Alice, things like that. And eventually decided that we wanted to create a teaching suite for people who hadn't programmed before to learn to program. So this is designed for people who have a more visual way of learning. So the first thing we knew we needed was a graphical output, purely because our intended market is very good at associating a picture with a set of steps, so it seems sensible to exploit that when trying to teach them algorithmic concepts. So we also knew we needed a tactile design so that you could change the functionality of your program by moving things around, because that would be another familiar action for them. And therefore it would allow them to sort of learn by discovery, by playing with things and seeing what happens. So yeah, we've all experienced the early days of programming, missing semicolons, the bizarre error messages you can't make heads or tails of. And we decided to shield our users from this. So we wanted to make something where those things just weren't possible, so that they could grasp the fundamentals of computer science without having to worry about these evil things. So basically we ended up building something based around a block structure, where everything is encapsulated in these blocks, and then you can place them sequentially to build up an execution, and then to build up complexity, you can nest the blocks within one another. This allows you to do various degrees of pictures, as I'm sure some of you saw upstairs. So yeah, this is, for example, on the left there, you've got a while loop which computes an iteration of a function, and then a draw thing which draws the circle underneath. Whereas on the other one, if you drop the draw instruction into the while loop, it draws every iteration of the thing. So this just shows some way of kind of playing with your program to produce different results and hopefully see intermediate steps as you go. To aid with the sort of debugging process, anyway, sorry. The other main feature is that because of the structure of blocks, because you can't create your own content, you've got to build up everything out of these blocks. You never have to worry about something not running. There's always going to be a point where there's always going to be something come out at the end when you press run, even if it's not quite what you expected sometimes. To aid in that, we have this slow-mo button, where it will go through your program at a rate you can set, and you can watch for the point where everything went wrong, and hopefully then change it. I'm not sure. But yeah, some of the programming language staples we couldn't make intuitive. We tried, but you can't do it. So we made this help panel thing, which every time you click on a block, it gets updated with content, and that gives you, some idea of the use of the thing, what it does, and possibly an example. So that works quite well. There's some examples of things we can make with it, because we included something where you can put in your own images and then iterate through them and play with them, as you can see there. The design of the core is very easy to add things to. It's designed in such a way that you can just staple more blocks in and it all works fine. And there's actually a few things in there we didn't manage to put into the front end. So there is functionality in there for user-created functions, which you then save, but sadly we didn't get time to put it in. So the potential is very high for sort of, you could even make it open source and just let people upload blocks. So in conclusion, we're fairly satisfied. We feel it, works quite well, and thank you.